Well, hello, and welcome to Homeschool Moms Unfiltered, your source for messy, imperfect homeschool discussion and community. I am your host, Meagan, and my amazing co host is.
Hey, I'm Amanda.
Hello. So, if you're catching this at release time, you know that the political chaos and unrest outside isn't slowing down, but we are here, still showing up, still teaching our kids, still building community. So, let's do
Yes.
this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you're looking for homeschool community that's secular, progressive, and actually walks the walk, we're here. You found us. We believe that Black Lives Matter. Your marriage to the person you love is just as valid as our hetero marriages. Trans rights are human rights. Women's rights should not be left up to crusty old white men. No human is illegal. And due process is currently and should remain the law of the land, right? Around here, diversity isn't a buzzword. It's the superpower that makes us stronger.
100%. But that doesn't mean it's any less exhausting of a time to be alive. But the horrors persist, and so shall we. I actually had a dream last night that we were out around dinner time. I don't know where I was. It wasn't quite a food hall, but it also wasn't just independent restaurants, kind of on like a city block. They were somehow connected. I don't really know what was happening there. But I was just walking along, and then the next thing you know, people were shouting and then started forming human chains in front of food stalls. And I literally had a minute to decide if I was going to flee or if I was going to join. And I'm a very anxious person by nature. So my natural instinct is to flee, but I joined. And I just remember having this moment of panic within my dream of being like, this is very, very dangerous for all of us, for me, for the people behind me, like all of this stuff. Right. And just, huh. But that's where my dream ended. And so I have no idea what happened. I have no memory of the dream ending. So I don't know how it worked out, but it's just like our day-to-day existence has become so stressful that it's infiltrating sleep like that and our subconscious thoughts. And I'm not even in the United States. So that's saying something.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's so true, right? The horrors do persist. Like yesterday, my kiddo really wanted to get some new Pokemon cards. He's just getting into them. We're well behind the curve on it. And it was this thing of like, well, okay, so Target's supposed to have them, but we're still boycotting Target. And Walmart has them, but we've been avoiding Walmart for a really long time. So GameStop has them. Is GameStop an okay place to go? Like, is that on the list? I'm not really sure, but I don't really know where else we can go get packs. And it's like, it's just a whole thing, right? And then it's back to school time. So, I know we homeschool, but we still support public school and the teachers around us and that we know. So there's, all of this like trying to help clear lists and make sure they have the basic supplies they need and making sure that they have diverse books for their classroom because they can't get them or they've been removed from the actual library in the school or whatever nonsense is going on. And then it's like, oh, we have to remember to increase our monthly donation to PBS, our local PBS station, and to the Human Rights Campaign. And, oh, but Order Angels has a new wish list that needs to be cleared. Like, and it's just on and on and on, right? I mean, there's just like, there's so much going on and so much to do. It's heavy. It's freaking heavy right now. Okay, but we can all empathize, sympathize. We all know how bad it is. But today we're going to try to escape all of that the best that we can, right? We're going to discuss the upcoming school year. And, if there's anything that's fun to do, it's like getting lost in someone else's life a little bit. So we're going to be sharing some of the decisions and plans that we have each made for our respective kids in the upcoming or for the upcoming school year. So if you're new to homeschooling, entering a new phase of your journey, feeling a little shaky at the start of the school year, whatever, right? We just hope this helps. And even if it doesn't help you with your plans because you're already solid on what you're doing, I think it's always kind of fun to peek inside someone else's homeschool plans, right? It's kind of like when you pop into an open house, even though you have absolutely no intention of buying a new home, I just feel like fun to listen to what other people have going on. But before we do that, we do try to always kick off our episodes with a weekly recap of kind of what we've got going on and what the situation in our personal life has been with this whole like keeping it real vibe thing that we're trying to do. So with that, how's your week been, Meagan?
I mean, it's been good in the sense that if you're watching the news, there's people having way worse weeks by far. So I cannot
Mm.
complain, right? We are in the UK. If you have been following our journey at all, we are in the process of moving overseas. We already have moved overseas, but the paperwork process is beastly. And so we're actually doing immigration on two fronts, which is really, really fun because one wasn't enough. And so we're doing short term immigration status through Portugal and then that's simultaneously working on our long-term immigration status through my husband, who's a Dutch citizen. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot. And if you think that what's going on in the United States isn't spilling over into every other country where people are trying to plan their exit, have a plan B, all of this stuff, right? They're digging through ancestry records, trying to figure out, like, can I apply in Italy? Can I apply here? Can I apply in Ireland? And so it's just delays, 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 everything. I mean, even where my husband is from, they have a banner on their website saying like XYZ is normally 3-month processing. And right now we're at 6. So, and there's nothing you can do. You just sit and wait. So we needed to be out of the EU for a time while we waited for our next round of paperwork to come through. And it hasn't because it's delayed. And nothing in August happens in Europe at all. Everybody just takes the month off. It's like we're on holiday. So, yeah. So we're just waiting, but we're here. We love the UK. So it's fine. The weather is amazing. It's so cool. At night, you get to feel kind of cozy. So it's good. Yeah. I bought myself a ticket to go see River Dance, which I've seen before, but it's in Manchester while we're here. And I'm like, yes, I will go. And when we're at a pet sit right now, which is always like a great safety net when you need to be somewhere that's not your home. And so when that ends, we're going to go down to London for a little bit. And I was fully planning on going to see Les Miserables for like the 12th time while I'm down there. I'll pick up a same day discount ticket. It's like a single seat on the end that nobody booked and I'll get it for a discount. It'll be great. But yeah, I mean, it just is what it is. There's people having way worse situations than I am, but it is just dishevelment, right? And we'll talk about that more when we talk about our school year plans because it's certainly freaking affecting our school year plans. So it is what it is. But
Yeah.
how's your week been, Amanda?
Well, before I dive into that, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that if you are doing one of those remote work visas or these kind of like shorter term visas that here in the United States, right, we're seeing loads about it. This country is now offering it and this country is offering it and you can go here for a year and you can go here for 3 years and all of these kinds of things. And they're great. And if you can work them and make them work, that's fantastic. But one of the things that a lot of them require is that you have established already a place to live. You have to have an apartment and you have to have the lease signed and paid for, but you can't actually be in that country for more than a few months at a time if you're still traveling on your US passport. So it definitely gets tricky. That's one of the things that we had kind of looked at as like,
Yep.
okay,
That's our existence. We had a lease in Portugal since January, and we go in and out of Portugal, if you've been following us, based upon what we're allowed to do on our US passports until our visas come through. It took us 4 months just to get an appointment to go ask for a visa. And now we've been waiting over 3 months for the visa to actually be put through. And they're inundated. I mean, they are absolutely inundated with people trying to get out of the United States. So it just is what it is, but it's okay. I'm very fortunate to be able to be making this choice. And I'll talk more about that later when we talk about our school year. But yeah, I mean, that's it. We've been paying for an apartment in Portugal since January. So thankfully it doesn't cost what an apartment in the US costs, but it's still, I can't then go spend thousands of dollars to be outside of Portugal at the same time because that just doesn't make a ton of sense. So pet sitting it is.
Well, I mean, that's it. You can't even submit your paperwork without having a lease that you're paying for. So it's
a 2-year lease we had to sign.
Definitely a bit of a catch-22 there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, I've had a pretty good week. If you've been following along, we had kind of a crazy summer and things were just like, I kept thinking and kept saying, right, like, it's going to slow down. It's going to slow down. And it never, like that, this is my life, right? It seems to never slow down. So when I do finally get a week that's a little slower, I really appreciate it. And this past week was kind of that. I got to stay home a lot, which, again, if you followed, I have a lot of health problems. And I have talked many times about the fact that I can't easily drive, especially not the way that I used to. And while that's true, I don't think everyone fully understands that the next step to that is that I actually have a really hard time being in a car, full stop. So my husband drives us a lot, or we can take Ubers or Lyfts or public transit or things like that. But it really causes me a lot of problems. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I was able to stay home last week and it made a pretty big difference in how I was feeling overall. Now, that said, it was still a busy week because I attended one of those like all week Zoom conference things where you log on for presentations that are scheduled like hourly throughout the day. But I enjoyed it for the most part. So that was good. And then I think the biggest thing for me is this like really trying to stay in the moment. At a coaching session this morning and it was great. But then as soon as we finished with helping this person with their curriculum planning, I'm like, I got to make sure I send the follow-up email. And I promised I'd do a little bit more research about this thing. And then if I'm going to be doing that, I should also make sure that I work on this and I should take care of that. And oh, I got to remember to do this. And I'm like, wait, no. Today was supposed to be like my easy day. I was going to get up early and do my coaching and then be like, I'm going to put everything else aside for the day. I'm going to knock out podcasting. And then tomorrow I will do the things because I just feel like all of us, right? It's the time of year, but it happens kind of all year long. My to-do list is stupidly long.
Yeah. I've had that this week because last week I was in a little bit of like paralysis mode because we realized we had to leave because our visas hadn't come through. And it was like, how do I make a plan? And then traveling with a service dog in Europe is like beastly, the whole process. And so that was beyond stressful, like beyond. And so this whole thing, I'm just behind on my to-do list. And then the other night I was in bed, sound asleep. And my kiddo called me from camp at like 2:15 in the morning because he has no concept of time. Like he is the poster child for ADHD time blindness. And so, your phone rings at 2:30 in the morning and you're like, oh my God, snake bite, broken bone. Like what's wrong? Right. And so I answered in that split second. I'm like, hey, and he goes, hey, how are you? And so you get the tone and I'm like, oh, you're fine. Right. But I was like, in the meantime, I'm like, it's 2:15 in the morning, but I don't say that, I'm just like, hey, I'm so glad you called. But then I couldn't go back to sleep. And so the whole, just thoughts. And by the morning, my to-do list was 700 pages because I just would pick up my phone, write it down, pick up my phone, write it down. It was just never ending.
Okay, so I don't know, this might be a really awkward segue. If you followed us, we sometimes go on these really random tangents. We were on a random tangent. We're going to go ahead and cut it because it doesn't really apply to this specific thing. So you can totally go catch it in our behind the scenes clips. We put them on our Patreon. But anyway, we're back. We're actually going to talk about the 2025-2026 school year. Here we are. So plans. As you might expect, we have gone about this quite a bit differently. If you are new to the podcast, I am an aggressive academic homeschooler. And Meagan considers herself a loosey-goosey unschooler. So our planning approach, not really the same. The year ahead, quite a bit different. But like I said, it might be helpful. And even if it isn't, it's just fun sometimes to hear what other people, a couple of veteran homeschoolers have in store for the year.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, even if you're not new to homeschooling, there's still there's so much doubt in the homeschooling world. You've taken on a lot. So there's this, am I doing enough? What if I'm screwing this up? Or with a million options out there, and in every Facebook group, there's like 700 curriculum names or program names. Like, how do I even know how to begin planning a school year? So hopefully all of this becomes helpful in that regard. But I know you, and I know you've been putting tons of time and energy into your transition to middle school for Winston. What a big kid you've got now on your hands. So, and I know you've got your magical planning spreadsheet. So I'm excited to hear what you're about. I'll share my plans in a little while, but yeah, Amanda's got a lot going on, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I have to say that this year, especially, kind of like the end of last school year and summer and now this transition, it's kind of bizarre to me. I know where I grew up, 5th grade was the start of middle school, and that's where you had your big transition from elementary school into a different kind of block schedule and whatever. And then we moved when I was in middle school to a new district where they had a junior high that was 8th and 9th grade. And so yeah, it's just been a little weird for me on just a personal level of doing this transition at 6th grade and how that's the start of middle school where we are. And yeah, and then for us specifically, we're in California and we do homeschool with one of those homeschool charter programs. So if you're familiar, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, it's basically a public oversight school. And it does mean that there are some additional restrictions and regulations that come into play for middle school versus where we had been at last year. And so that's definitely an administrative transition for me, for sure. I think for us, though, one of the biggest differences this year is that because we're in this public school oversight kind of situation, he does get actually an official report card from someone else. And it hasn't really mattered to me in years past. Sometimes I would remember to open the email that it came in, and sometimes I didn't because she hardly ever sees my kiddo and she's doing it based off 4 pieces of work that I submitted per month. Like it doesn't matter that much to me, but it is what it is. But now at the middle school level, they have this thing where his classes can now be noted as honors classes in middle school. And I'm a pretty big believer in the fact that gifted kids should be challenged. And I think if he's doing the work of an honors course, because that's what we're doing, then he should get credit for that. But I'm also a really big believer in the fact that they shouldn't just get more extra work because they're gifted. So yeah, just trying to figure out what that looks like and, trying to understand this thing of like what's normal and what's not. And yeah, it has been a lot. So beyond that, our biggest challenge for this upcoming year, this kind of middle school transition, is that my kiddo has asked to do 2 days a week of drop-off programs. And that means that we will drop back our curriculum days at home to 3 days a week. And to help make that work, we are also doing fewer online classes. So I'm not really sure how that's all going to work out. We've only committed to a few months of the 2 drop-off things a week because it could be a lot for him. It'll definitely be a lot for me. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work out, but we've talked before in our family anyway, we tend to adjust kind of quarterly. So we'll see how that works out in general. But so we're going to be squeezing a lot of things into our 3 days a week of at home school stuff. So I'll just do kind of like a random quick run through, and I highly doubt you'll have any questions, Megan, but if you do, you can be like, what, huh?
No worries. I'm going to sit here and follow along. I'm excited for it.
Like, I am peeping through your bathroom cabinets right now. It's the equivalent of looking through my closet. So we're for ELA, we're gonna stick with Michael Clay Thompson again this year. My kiddo enjoys it. We have to finish wrapping up Voyager level. We've got like 4 or 5 weeks left of it from last year because we don't travel with the Michael Clay Thompson curriculum when we're doing all of our travels. It's a lot of books. It's a real pain to try to make copies of all of that. And so that's one of the curriculums that we only do when we're at home. And it's not a specific by grade. Each level of Michael Clay Thompson is like, it could work for this age to this age and for this grade to this grade. So whatever. Once
And
we're
can I
done,
add that? Sorry. Well, and can I add that even if it was that thing where it's 4th grade or 5th grade, you're homeschooling people. It's okay.
that's true.
Yeah, finish the 5th grade book and you still have 4 or 5 lessons left or whatever's fine. Who cares? Who's upset about this? It's okay.
That's it. As long as you are truly homeschooling, it doesn't matter. If you're with an oversight school like this, and this is one of your approved curriculum, it gets a little bit more tricky. And so you do need to keep that in mind, depending on what situation you're in and what you're listening to. But yeah, for us on my end, yeah, it's all good. And then once we finish that, we'll start level 4, which I think is technically called something like classical literature level or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. I'm fine with it. My kiddo really enjoys it. So that's why we just keep plugging along with it. It's not my favorite, but he likes it. And that's the whole point of this, right? As long as I can suck it up and do it, then it's fine. We're our primary ELA. So Michael Clay Thompson is approved by our oversight school, which is why it's also a convenient thing. He likes it. We'll just keep doing it and we can make that our samples. But I really like Hearth and Story. It's new. So it hasn't been approved by our specific public charter school as an approved curriculum, but I just think it's great. We've talked about it before, but we're pretty much going all in on that one. For me, I find that most of the lessons are 5 to 10 minute chunks. sometimes writing and novel study can be more like a 15 to 20-minute chunk, but it's just an easy, good review and enjoyable ELA for us to do. So we're going to do that. We'll do grammar with it as a quick review. Their vocabulary is fun. I think this terms thing is like the dog ate my dictionary, and then you're like pretending to put together a dictionary of your own or something. Like, I don't know, just kind of fun, quirky little things. The novel studies are good. They work well for us. And then they have this thing called brain food, which teaches different skills and strategies, like how to put together a big project and what logical fallacies are and just critical thinking kinds of things. And I like that. I like something that can provide that. So yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to review Step Up to Writing, which has been our writing curriculum up until now. So we're going to spend a bit of time reviewing that, and then we're going to give it a try. We're going to try using the Hearth and Story writing curriculum. We'll see how that goes. This will be our first time trying something that's not quite as explicit. So we'll see. And then we're going to do the Jackson Pierce creative writing class that we had done before. We took a break from it over the summer, but kiddo really enjoys that. So I'm not good about fostering that, but he loves the chance to make up a story and be creative. So this is a way that it's one of the few online classes we're going to stick with. And then again, because we are in this charter program oversight kind of thing, we technically have to officially have an informational text course, something. And there's a very specific, a small list of things we can choose from. We're going to go with IXL. We tested it out here on the podcast last year, and my kiddo liked it fine. We get free access to it through the school now. And so, I mean, yeah, it's fine. I don't think we're going to be excited about it, but it'll do the job. For math, we are doing Art of Problem Solving pre-algebra this year. So that's a pretty big change in teaching and learning, like method and style from Beast Academy. They say that the first like semester of the pre-algebra is essentially review from level 5 Beast Academy. And they do it that way specifically to help provide the transition of like, well, you already are familiar with this material and now you have to understand how to apply it in this way and this like more boring lecture format and more problem sets and all of that kind of thing. So we're going to give that a try and see how it goes. I hope he likes it, but if it's not a good fit, we'll probably end up switching to Think Well pre-algebra, and we'll give that a couple of months. We have a lot of travel the first part of the school year. And so I think, you need either one to 2 months of just being home or kind of 2 to 3 months of the ebbing and flowing of travel and not and all of that jazz before you can really know for sure if it's like, yeah, this is just not working when you're trying something new. That's how it works for us anyway. For history, we're going to do a cumulative review of all of the History Quest history that we've done up to this point. And then we're going to start on Pandia Press's Modern Bridge. And I'm going to be honest, I don't love everything about this. Their History Quest has been updated and it's really solid curriculum. Their high school curriculum has not been updated and it uses some books and is fine that I really don't like. It's kind of one of those things. It's their older curriculum. They're working on updating it, but it's not updated yet. And it's just not as solid as the stuff for the younger kiddos. So we're going to look at that. We're going to work on it some, loosely use it as our spine, but I'll be doing a lot of extra work and pulling a lot of supplemental reading and books and things like that to just help make sure that it's inclusive and really covering the things that we want to make sure it is. But I'm excited next year we're going to dive into the mint and bloom history. So I'm looking forward to that, but we're saving that for next year. For science, he's really been enjoying science, Mom. So he's going to do a middle school physics. I thought we were doing biology, so I had all of these dissection kits picked out, but dissection kits don't really work for physics. So I was wrong. And I'm not really sure what experiments we're going to be doing for physics, but I'm sure we'll do plenty. You can't really do like electromagnetism and all of that jazz and not have some fun things for physics. So we'll do that. But I really like the Science Mom science curriculum because the curriculum itself comes with these kind of closed reading notes for literally every lesson. And I think that can be really helpful for certain kids. It's definitely helpful for my kiddo. And
I
then,
have a question.
yeah.
Okay. So what was the switch from biology to physics? Was that dictated by the
Oh,
charter people or your kiddo? Like what, or state standards? Like what was the deal there?
so that was actually a kiddo thing. We had the flexibility. If we were just following the normal path, it should have been biology. And so I was just thinking like, oh, we'll do biology. But I had asked him, this is one of those brain fog moments. We're all human. I'd asked him if he wanted to do middle school biology or middle school physics this year. And he said physics. And somehow in my head, I just kept rolling along with the fact that we were doing biology. And then something happened and he was like, and I was like, oops. And so now we're retooling, but we'll get there. It's fine.
Gotcha. Well,
Yep.
then, hey, next year you'll be really prepared for biology.
Like, oh, I already picked up the kids. Yeah. At least I didn't buy them already. And like, don't worry about the formaldehyde pig in the kitchen. But it's fine. Comparative eyeballs, it's all good. Just ignore those. Yeah. And that's pretty much what we've got. Like, and I know that's a ton of stuff, right? We do have electives, right? So we'll do music, Spanish. We have online classes. That's the other online class we do because I do not speak Spanish. That is not my strength. So online classes, we got a workbook, and then we're doing some immersion classes, like typing / keyboarding. I feel like that's a pretty important skill to have. And so we make sure we kind of keep that as something that he practices on the regular. We'll do art, probably more pencil sketching and drawing fundamentals because that's really improved what he's been doing. And he's having a lot of fun creating graphic novels and comic strips and things like that. And he's been really happy to see his progress in that. So we'll probably just stick with that. And then he's had some ebbing and flowing of his interest in coding. But this year, through the school that we're a part of, we have access to coding.com and Code Academy. So I expect we'll do a little bit with that throughout the year while we have free access to it. Yeah, that's what
Might
we're
as well.
going on.
Oh, you peeps are going to be busy bees. I like it.
You do
Good
not, but
year.
that's okay.
No, I do. I like it for you. I mean, I'm not signing up to do it, but I'm happy for you. I love it for you. Like, love that. Okay. Because you still haven't watched Schitt's Creek, you won't get the reference, but love that journey for you. It's going to be great. Yeah. All right. So I will share some of what we've got going on this year, but I wanted to circle back to the concept that we kind of started off with at the start of this, as far as doubts that many homeschoolers feel, how overwhelming it can be. Like if you just listened to Amanda and you were like, I bought a workbook off Amazon, like, what the hell? Am I completely screwing this up? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do right now. So if listening to her thing just stressed you out, first of all, don't stress because everybody's journey is different. Stay tuned. Listen to mine. It's nothing like that. So don't stress. But we're hoping you can pull some nuggets of information out of this episode, out of all of our episodes that help you with your homeschool journey, your planning, your confidence, all of that. But if you're still sitting there thinking, this is amazing and I'm super love that journey for you, right? But how the hell do I do this in my house for my kids with what I've got going on? Then you are not alone. Okay. So yeah, I am a huge fan of asking friends or the internet to explain things to me like I'm 5 years old when I feel overwhelmed and I'm just not sure how to get started. So we have a way to do that. If you like to have something just laid out for you like a breadcrumb trail, we have got you.
Well, that's it. Decision fatigue, it is real and it can truly be brutal. And I know that with my homeschooling stuff, I'm over the top. I think that's one of the benefits of the biggest advantages of our podcast because you can hear two totally different ways of doing things. And then realistically, you're probably going to find yourself somewhere on the spectrum between the two of us. And that's awesome, right? And in some cases, you'll be even further out one end or the other from us. I'm not really like, I don't even want to know what that looks like if you're more academic aggressive than me. But there are those people out there, right? You probably opened your email with the report card in it. But here's the thing, right? Like there are tons of books out there that can help you. There are lots of books about homeschooling, but a lot of times they're really heavy on theory and these kinds of things. And while there is definitely a time and place for that, it is not when you're overwhelmed and feeling the pressure to make all of the decisions right now about your new homeschool adventure, like that should have started last week. Okay. So we've got you.
Or that you think should have started last week, because
right.
very
That's
rarely is there a should in the world of homeschooling.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, but we all get that. We get that
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
like like I needed to have all of these decisions made a week ago and I have none of
Yep.
them made because I don't know which one is the right choice, right? So
Yep.
if you would like a step-by-step guide that takes you literally from the moment you've decided to homeschool to hitting the buy now on your curriculum choices, just so it can make life easier, we have that for you. We will walk you through every step and decision in your homeschool journey with our Homeschool 101 No Panic Bootcamp course. And then once you have done the fundamental kind of foundation work for really figuring out how to let go of those shoulds and how to do what actually works for you and your kiddo instead of all of the things that you think you should be doing or that someone else is telling you have to be doing, right? From that point, you can try some of our other courses. We have ones on age and developmentally appropriate early education. That's talking preschool and kindergarten. We have things on choosing curriculum for all ages up through high school and just so much more.
Yeah. And 100%, right? So we've got you. It doesn't have to be stressful and overwhelming. We will link those courses in the show notes below, and we are here and ready to help you become a confident homeschooler on your journey. It's going to be amazing. So don't stress. We've got you. All right. So speaking of starting the year with confidence, ironically, I am 100% not starting the school year with confidence this year, specifically for my older kids. And this is not typical. Even as unschoolers, we have a plan. We have goals. We have things that we've got our eye on. We have things that we've been waiting for the traditional school year to roll around to kind of kick off. That's not happening this year. So I am regularly having to remind myself that this is okay because life is full of seasons and our current season is a bit chaotic. And we've done episodes on this. We did an episode that was called something like Homeschooling When the Shit Hits the Fan. I'm in that right now. It's okay. Right? It's okay. But I still, even after a decade of homeschooling, have to remind myself that it's okay. So I did kind of a little life update at the beginning of the episode. I will start off with a disclaimer saying that I fully acknowledge the privilege that I have to being able to say, let's blow up our life and completely start fresh. It is expensive as hell to move to another country. It takes so much time and so many resources and so much paperwork. So I completely understand the privilege that I have in what I'm about to share. And so when I'm like, I'm so stressed, I get that that was a choice and that it is oozing with privilege. And I understand that there are plenty of people in the United States right now who do not feel safe and who are unable to take the actions that we have taken. So I am sensitive to that as I kind of share what we've got going on here. So early last year, I'm talking like January, we started having some conversations in our household about, is this what we want long term? That was the time frame of the TikTok audio of they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. And we were just sitting here like, is this what we're going to do? Is this what's happening here? At the time, Joe Biden was still the candidate. And then obviously it became Kamala eventually. But we were like, even if they were to win, him then her, right? Even if they were to win, half the country is still legitimately believing that Haitian immigrants are eating people's pets out of their backyards. And we were like, is this what we want for our kids long term? Is the cost of living in the United States, this political insanity, all of this kind of stuff. But it's hard to make that decision, right? It's really hard to blow up your life and do something else. So a couple of months later, my husband got laid off, which I had kind of seen coming. There were budget cuts and this, that, and the other thing. And so I was shocked for about 5 seconds. And I was like, well, hold on a second, because I think they just made our decision to blow up our lives and do something very, very different for us. And we had a realtor at the house within the week. List this, we're leaving. So we've done that, right?
I find it interesting that that was your push because for anyone who's listened, you may know that we lived in Europe for a few years as well. And that's why I talked about my kiddo being born in Europe. But it was totally that thing. We kind of maybe had the opportunity to go to Europe. We weren't really sure about it. And then I got laid off. And it was like, well, I guess now's a good time to see what happens with it. Is it going to come together? And it came together. And so that was kind of, but yeah, that was the push from the universe that we got as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but listen, here's the deal. It's a big freaking move. Okay. In South Carolina, we owned a compound that my parents lived on. We had 5 buildings and, it was a beast to try to sell. It was not a fun process, right? We did that. We had a camper van. We had our cars. The kids vended at the farmer's market. My son was in college locally. I mean, we had all of this stuff that we decided to disentangle on a moment's notice. I mean, we had been pondering it, but then it was like, boom, let's do this. And we did. So, what our approach was to figuring out where we wanted to go in Europe was to sell everything in the United States. And then we just wandered Europe for a while and very low maintenance, very low key, very budget until we found a place that we liked. And some of that came down to homeschooling laws, disability rights, access to medication for my kiddo, all that kind of stuff. And then we finally made a choice and decided to go to Portugal. So we already didn't have a home base when we decided to do this. And it was like, okay, well, now we need to get paperwork to live here and do this stuff. So a lot of people, when they move, they do that stuff beforehand, but we didn't really know where we wanted to go and what we wanted to do. And so we're still waiting on our paperwork. And then the situation in the United States obviously has really shaken the foundation of immigration for so many countries, which is just making it that much more. So it's just a hard time to make plans when you have zero stability. Like, we really thought that when we went back to Portugal in July that our visas would come through before we had to leave again. And so I was starting to make plans again. And the last year has taught me that every time I try to make a plan, it's just ridiculous. Like, the universe is going like, when is she going to learn? Because the last year has not worked. In the beginning, when I would book things and commit to things, I would never do like the cancellation policy or whatever. I have started doing that because we've ended up having to shift course so many times I can't even tell you. So, for example, a huge piece of my older kids' education, or my hope for their education this year, was to sign them up at a university in Lisbon where they could begin taking intensive Portuguese classes, because we chose to move to Portugal when my kids are comfortable with Spanish. So anyway, it's like, there we go. Well, now guess what? Classes are starting and we don't have our visas and we're not there. So it's like, okay, here we go again. I tried to make a plan, not so much. The other thing is that college requirements are different in Europe than they are in the United States. So I've been homeschooling my kids for 10 years. I knew what they needed to graduate and go to college in the United States. I was not banking on what they needed to graduate and go to college in Europe. So for my oldest kiddo, he's he is going to have some gap filling to do, mainly just that they want AP courses, for example, and he didn't take AP courses. So, we've kind of got to figure some of that stuff out. So we've got that. My oldest kiddo will be 18 in January. He doesn't feel ready to leave home yet. And I'm okay with that. I'm so okay with that. I'm like, don't leave, please. So he cannot really go to university locally because there's no English speaking university that focuses on what he does in Portugal. There's plenty of them in Europe, but they're not local. So, I think he's going to stay home and happily kind of maybe take his AP classes or decide what he wants to do so that when he is ready to go to an English speaking university somewhere in Europe, he can do that. But it's a lot, right? I mean, he was in college already in the United States. He was in his 3rd semester of college when we moved. So now it's like, okay, well, you're 17, but you have 3 semesters of college under your belt, but you don't have the credentials you need to go to a European university. So it's like, what are we doing? But it's okay. We'll get there. Okay. Yeah. We've left the United States. My oldest kiddo, who's going to be 18 in January, is not white presenting. And so in my world right now, my priority is more about having him out of the United States than having him in college. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay that we're going to have this gap of chaos in life. My second kiddo had just finished her 2-year degree when we left the United States, and she's struggling with finding a 4-year program that she likes. And also, she's 16. So sending her abroad to do a 4-year program right now is not really on my bingo card. So it's kind of like, okay, you're way ahead. Now, what do we do with this year or two until you're ready to leave home and kind of do those things? For her, it's very challenging because she's an artist and she's a weaver and she does all of these projects. Well, when we have to leave Portugal every time we turn around because we don't have freaking paperwork, she can't work, right? And all of her projects are being disrupted and her creative flow is being disruptive. So she's out of sorts. She's a little out of sync. And again, I had planned to send her to go learn Portuguese and now we're not there. So those two are more out of sorts than anybody, I would say. But I also just have to keep reminding myself that I have a 16-year-old with a 2-year degree and a 17-year-old with 3 semesters of college under his belt. So, like, if we have this season of life where the shit has hit the fan and we're not on top of things at the moment, it's okay. They're not behind on life, right? They're doing okay. So we'll get there. We'll get back on track. We'll find our path.
Well, yeah. And I think it's worth noting if you are listening to us and you are starting out with high schoolers or you don't feel super confident in that for a lot of reasons, right? Meagan chose to graduate her kiddos and they went in as college students. But there are also a lot of places where you might not do that. You might keep them on the paperwork as a high schooler because they get free college classes or things like that. I know because of the system we have here in California, a lot of kids graduate high school with like 2 or 3 associate's degrees already. And so that can really vary depending on where you live and how you handle that. So don't be like, oh, wait a minute. I thought they, like I have to graduate them for them to be able to take college classes, or wait a minute, that like there are lots of ways to do it. That's just the way that they have handled it. I am curious, who are you using for your AP classes this year?
Well, it's a good question because I think I definitely have one kid doing AP and possibly a second kid doing AP. But it's really interesting because I know you put out in our newsletter that goes out to our Patreon followers what we're reading and all that. And so I had said that one of my goals for this month was to read this book, He's Not Lazy. It's a book written by a psychologist/psychiatrist. I don't know which one. I can't remember. But it's talking specifically about teenage boys who appear undermotivated or lacking motivation, but really the root cause is fear of failure. And so it's interesting because I'm struggling a little bit with the book because it's very school oriented. It's very much about like homework and grades and this and that. And I'm really trying to take the core principles and apply them to my life in a way that doesn't always translate. And so I'm just not entirely sure how much of the book is applicable to my kiddo, whether that's really what's his jam or if it's just personality style, right? There are plenty of people in this world who are just very go with the flow individuals. I do not happen to be one of those individuals at all. And
Like,
so for me,
the irony of you parenting like your oldest, right? Because we make all of the mistakes with the first. The worst mistakes are with your first kiddo because you did not get a manual and you're still figuring it out and you're still learning how to let go. The irony that your oldest is the one that's the most laid back and your personality, it's not lost on me.
no, I mean, and so I'm like, I actually don't think that this fear of failure thing is the core thing here, but I've had this book on my shelf for ages and I was like, I really want to read it and see what I can glean from it. You never know what you're going to pick up where. And so he's at camp while I've been reading this book and there's a lot in there. And so part of me is thinking like, what does his future look like? And we've had a bunch of these conversations lately. He is thinking he would like to go to university for the experience, because he enjoys learning and he enjoys learning new things. He has no desire to have a career and a real job and all of this kind of stuff. I mean, I've talked about it before on the podcast that he invests with the primary goal of being able to live off of his residual income from his investments. And he's totally the type of person that would get a seasonal job working at a reindeer farm in Norway and then get a summer job working at a summer camp in New Zealand. This is who he is. He's never, I don't think, going to be a 9-to-5 kid. He's never going to be his father's climb the corporate ladder kid who it's never enough and it's all of that. And so it's interesting trying to parent that kid in this season of life because what serves him best? What does he want? It's really tough. So he's trying to decide if he's going to take some of those AP classes now, if he's not going to. And so when he comes back from camp, we'll have some more conversations. These have been kind of ongoing conversations. He's a severely introverted child. So, you have to have these conversations over a really long period of time to kind of keep chipping away at things, and then he'll agree to kind of go off and think about stuff because he's a ponderer, and then come back, and then we reconvene on the conversation. So I'll be interested between me reading this book and him being away and stuff. We'll see what he's up to. To answer your question, though, if he decides to take some AP classes, I will probably use aphomeschoolers.com. Okay. So there's a few options on there that he and I have looked at that he seems good with. And I couldn't even tell you that he'd start for the fall semester. I couldn't even tell you he might start this year. He might wait a year. I mean, we've had so much upheaval and super duper introverted and severe upheaval, it's just not all driving. So I think he definitely needs something to sink his teeth into, but I don't know that that's the weight of something that he needs to sink his teeth into right now. I think if anything this year, he might be better off doing some Arizona State courses online, some virtual college classes, something like that. Maybe he gets his degree through the United States still, and he doesn't even bother getting a degree in Europe because we moved there so late that for him to fill that gap. But he really does love going to campus and hanging out with other kids and taking the classes. He did it in the US and he loved it and he was thriving. So we have to figure it out is basically the thing. But again, he's 17 and he's got credits. He was on the dean's list. He's in the National Honor Society of College people or whatever. I don't know. They sent a flyer home. I paid a fee. I don't know. So
you've got time. You've got time.
That's the thing.
He's got time. I was purely curious if you were going with AP homeschoolers or study.com.
Yeah.
Because I could see one of them maybe being a better fit for one of your kiddos and one of them being a better fit for your other kiddo. And so I was just curious which route you were going.
Well, speaking of the other kiddo, and I should say before I speak of the other kiddo, actually, your disclaimer before about graduating kids, I technically have only graduated my oldest. My daughter meets all of the criteria to graduate, but it didn't affect her college path. Could I graduate her today? Yes, of course. I could have graduated her then. I could graduate her now. I just haven't. So I have to write a transcript and order a diploma, but I technically haven't. So for full disclosure purposes, she is technically still a high school student with a college degree.
Like 6 years and she's still only 16.
Yeah. So anyway, again, loosey-goosey, living up to it. All right. So that's loosey-goosey for the third kid. He's actually got a pretty decent plan for this year, but I think he's also been less disrupted by all of the upheaval in our life because most of what he does is online. He wasn't in a university. He wasn't in a physical location. And so he continues. And if anything, he's really going to benefit from me knowing the European graduation guidelines and college entry requirements, not at the age of 17, that my oldest did not have that benefit from. And my youngest does have, at least now, he's almost 14, does have plans to go to college and beyond, right? He's talking masters and PhDs and stuff. And I'm like, okay, have fun. Have the best time ever. Especially now that we live in Europe and that won't bankrupt me. Have the best time ever. Get as many degrees as you want. So he's been less affected. So his plan this year, he's heavily focused on math, which is his college plan and goal, is strictly to study mathematics and be a mathematician. That's what he's keen to do. Again, he's almost 14. It could totally change. And I'm game for that. That's fine. But for right now, this is the path that we're on. So he's taking this school year, he's taking Algebra 2. He's taking AP Statistics. And he's taking a college math class through Arizona State University that is some offshoot of algebra. It's algebra based, but it's some twist on algebra that I don't know. You'd think I would know the name, but I don't. A lot of his math is managed by his math mentor because he has succeeded me in math 100 times over. So he has an amazing math mentor who says, this is what he should do next. This course would be good for him. This would be ideal. Here's how we should approach this. And I just go, okay, great. Thank you. And pay the fee. So that's the plan, right? So he's going to do that. He's taking 3 full course loads of math, which is a lot. He is really invested many hours right now each week with chess, and more than just playing chess, but he's doing a lot of strategy lessons and stuff like that. I mean, he's got these strategy things. He kicked my dad's ass when we were in Florida, and my dad was like, you think I need to read some strategy books? Like, he's like, he wipes the floor with me. I can't even play with him. So I'm like, okay, so he's doing that. And then the overall goal of learning Portuguese. So, which is pretty much the same for all of us. I ordered Jumpspeak the other day. Do you see the ads for Jumpspeak all the time on social media and stuff?
See a ton of them, but yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, I decided to try it. So far, only I have it. I figured I would test it and see if I thought that it might be something the kids would like and whatever before I go from there. It's heavily AI driven. So for if you're anti AI, and I'll be honest, I'm stuck because I'm at the point where you have to actually talk to it and I'm overwhelmed and self conscious about it. And so I'm like, okay. Portuguese is really hard. Maybe we should move to Spain, but the homeschool laws in Spain suck. So we didn't move there. So I will get it. We all will. But yeah, so it's just, listen, if you're like homeschooling through moving, through divorce, through a death in the family, through illness, through whatever, and your plan is as chaotic as mine this year, it's freaking okay. And it's okay, even if you're not sitting here going, well, my child has a degree that they earned at 15. Doesn't matter. You don't have to. It does not matter. I mean, I didn't finish college until I was 25 and 3 weeks from giving birth. And I finished college. It doesn't matter. There's not a timeline. It's okay. We all get there in the end. Amanda's going to die with this advice that I'm giving, but I'm like, it's all fluid. It's all casual. It's fine. Don't stress.
I am not going to die. It's just one of those differences, right? I mean, like, my husband was a fifth year senior in college, took him 5.5 years to get his 4-year degree. And then I was done I finished just before my 20th birthday, so I mean, like, if you're wondering where the differences come from, there they are. I finished honors college just before my 21st birthday. So there we go.
And I got my 2-year degree, partied for 3 years, got married, went back to college, got pregnant, and graduated 2 weeks before I gave birth. Still squeaked it in. And I had a really good time in the process.
That's it. I did not. If there's anything that I would tell myself, it would be to go back and just slow down and enjoy it. I did perfectly fine in school. I did well and all of that jazz. But, I was really struggling to afford school. And so I was finding all of the ways possible for me to, get my degree as quickly as possible and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't foresee that getting easier for really anyone in the United States anytime soon. But yeah, if there's anything I would do differently, right? I was a first generation college student and I'm really proud of that. But I saw the world with a different lens. And I hope to be able to pass on to my kiddo that if you're enjoying education, you can just actually enjoy education as long as you enjoy education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Different ways. There are different ways to get there. And we all get somewhere, right? That's silver lining Amanda coming out. We all get somewhere and it's all good.
Well, we all get somewhere. And then how many of us have changed course 100 times? And I mean, 10 careers later and going back to school. And I mean, we reinvent ourselves constantly. So it's okay.
That's it. I mean, it's true. And then I just heard a stat from somewhere that talked about the fact that, like, with AI and the way the world is changing, that they're predicting that kids these days, when they grow up, they'll have 17 careers. I was like, holy smoke. I mean, no, I didn't actually. I'm not sure I even changed jobs 17 times over my working time. But, like, I did all kinds of different things, right? I wore a lot of different hats, but the idea of 17 careers, holy smokes, you'll be changing constantly. Wowzers, that sounds out. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I have a friend from high school who was the you of my high school. Okay. And somehow we were like best friends. I would show up and be like, what book were we having a test on today? And she was like, what do you mean you don't even know the name of the book? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't read it. And we are still friends to this day. So that's truly ironic, right? But it's really interesting, right? So she went on, she has 2 master's degrees and a PhD. I got my bachelor's just to check that box because felt like I needed to. I've never used it for anything. And she went off and got like 900 degrees. I mean, you name it. She's an adjunct professor at 2 really impressive universities and all this kind of stuff. And we're the same age. Her birthday was actually yesterday. And it's interesting because I started seeing her post on Instagram more and do kind of these like influencer type posts and about like women and lifestyle and living your happiness and all this kind of stuff. And I sent her a text and I was like, hey, I've really been enjoying your content on social because I know how much time and energy that takes to put in. And it was definitely a change for her and whatever. She was like, oh, thanks for noticing. And she has a Substack. She's a brilliant freaking writer. I mean, that's what all her degrees are in, are all literature and all this kind of stuff. She's a brilliant writer. And I follow her Substack to support her. It's like $5 a month. And next thing I know, like a couple of days later, there was a thing that's like, here I am making videos on Instagram. Who would have seen this coming? And she was talking about the fact that like she's woken up at 44 and been like, I've never had a career that fulfills me. Like I have all these degrees and, you know, all the, and like, I'm like trying to figure out what to do with myself. So here she is. I mean, she's done everything you could possibly do educationally and is still like, I don't feel fulfilled. And she's making a twist and she's making a turn and I'm thrilled for her. I have another friend. I mean, I went to a very, very aggressive high school, which is ironic if you listen to me talk. And so I have all these friends that went to like this school and have this PhD and this doctorate and this and that and whatever. And I was like, I want to have kids. Like I want to have kids and not have a job. And so, oh, but I have a friend and she, same thing. She went to an amazing university. She's got a master's in electrical engineering and like all this stuff. Right. And she's had like 10 careers. She's been a photographer. She was working. Oh, she joined us on the podcast. Audrey, she came when she did the DSLR at Christmas time. We did a thing on how to buy a DSLR camera because she's an amazingly talented photographer. She's most recently been working in the not-for-profit world for bereavement because she lost her dad when she was quite young and she was working in children's bereavement. And now she's left that. And I don't know what her next chapter is. I haven't wanted to ask because it feels like she hasn't shared and it feels like pressure. Maybe she doesn't know what's next. And I don't want to add that pressure to her life right now. So I'm waiting to see what unfolds. But yeah, I mean, we're all changing all the time. So like the thought that you have to have all this figured out when your kid is 16 and starting their junior year in high school, no, you're fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, it is. But the other thing too is the flip side of that is fine too. If you've got the kiddo who you think is going to be like, you know, my husband is so happy to be just like a corporate company man, you know, like he just wants to go in and do his job well and help other people and have the teams appreciate him. And if you have that kind of kid, that's okay too, right? Like that's it. There are so many different ways to get there and it's all good.
But I think the people who have that kid stress less than the people who have the kid that is like, I don't know what I want to do with myself. I don't know. I could be wrong, but like, so that's the only reason why I totally think it's okay either end. But
I just feel like these days there's so much pressure to have the kid, especially in the homeschool circles. They have to be an entrepreneur. They have to have some kind of business. They have to be doing, and it's like, what, your 11-year-old doesn't have a business yet? Mine's on their third. I'm like, okay, well, my kid has no desire. He'll be like, maybe. And then he'll be like, okay, yeah, well, so let's talk about what that might look like and what you'd need to put into it. And he's like, never mind.
I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah. I was thinking more from the perspective of like the people whose kids don't know what they want at 17, what they want to do with themselves. I'm like, I'm freaking 44. I don't know what to do with myself. So it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. No, totally. Okay, so we're almost done and we definitely have a mantra for you today. But before we do that, we just want to give you a quick reminder that book club is changing in the month of September. So September 2025, we are going to move book club into a Zoom situation. So that way it's not just us talking, but we're going to be able to actually have group conversation and community discussion around things. That's how Meagan and I originally met. We really enjoyed that environment. And so we're going to try to get back to that. We're going to create it ourselves because the one that we were in is now defunct. And so we're going to make it happen in our own little corner of the internet. If you would like to join us, we would love to have you. It's run through our Patreon. So you can just go to our Patreon. There are a couple ways to join. There's a just book club option. And then there's our higher level that has book club. And then all of the other things, the behind the scenes and the unit studies and the other lives, a weekly live and all kinds of stuff. We will still post kind of highlights of the different books that we're reading and give you some information on the things that we're reading, but the actual real discussion and the meat of the books starting in September will be a live Zoom kind of thing. And it won't be recorded because we want to make sure that people feel comfortable sharing all of the things. And these days, once you start recording things, it gets a little bit scarier to say it. So, yeah, we're going to be keeping that in mind. And we hope to see you over there.
And I'm going to freely admit that I just had a moment while you were talking where I remembered there's still a little bit of Ben and Jerry's cookie dough ice cream in the fridge, and my brain went there for a second. So you might have said it and I missed it. But if you join the book club on Patreon and you haven't read the book, we don't judge you for it. So come.
That's true.
I mean,
Yep.
literally, if you just want to come and enjoy the conversation and have an hour of grown up time, come. If you haven't had time to read the book, it's fine. We do not judge. So, and if you
That's
said
it.
that already, I apologize. But there is ice cream in the freezer. It's not much, but it's there.
It's there. Not for this book club, because obviously I have to be responsible and read. But I used to attend book club almost specifically so that I didn't have to read the book, but I knew what was in it. And I knew more than just like the terrible Amazon reviews. Like I actually heard intelligent people discussing the book and I had a good idea of the theories and ideas behind it. So I am there for that. If that is how you want to come and you're like, basically, thank you for being my real life spark notes and like intelligent conversation, you should totally do that. That is
Happy to
A-okay.
have you. You want to do the mantra or you want me to?
I'm fine with doing that. Do you want to?
All right. So my Ben and Jerry's is calling. So mantra for the week, right? Here we go. Your homeschool year doesn't have to start with a bang. It can be a slow roll into a new year or dive in with gusto type of situation. As long as it works for you and your kiddo, that is all that matters. Yeah, I like it. And I mean, I'm literally, like I said, I'm 10 years in and I'm still having to remind myself that it is okay that we are the most chaotic we've ever been this year because life, right? And
Yep.
we're doing it. So we'll get on track. We'll get there. You will too. Amanda's already on track, but even she's going to update quarterly. So it's okay.
That's it. I will be shocked if everything goes the way we've planned. I fully anticipate that at least a couple things will fail or be a hot mess, and we're going to revisit, and that's okay.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. All right, friends, happy homeschooling. You've got this. It's going to be an amazing school year. Let us know if you need any help. We are always available with our Q&As and all kinds of stuff. So we're here for you, but you're going to do amazing.
Yep,
Hold on.
that's it. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Happy homeschooling, everyone.
Yeah, have a great one.